History is a set of lies agreed upon. This is an old quote, sometimes attributed to Napoleon, possibly apocryphal. It was the inspiration for the name of 2 episodes of the HBO show Deadwood. It's a short leap to a mimetic mutation formulated by a friend of mine. Civilization is but a lie agreed upon. It is carved out of the wilderness, one frontier at a time. But what does that mean? How could the civilization in which we live be a lie, any more than the ocean in which the fish swim or the school that they form together? Well, a blueprint is not a house, and an instinct is not an outcome. A civilization that has formed and matured enjoys the benefits of its own invented legitimacy. But what Deadwood has encouraged me to think about is that frontier justice is much harsher, blunter, and more savage than what we imagine legal procedure to be.
Welcome to f***ing Deadwood! Can be combated. Oh.
Especially in the context of, say, a Law and Order episode. Civilization is like concrete. In its early stages, it's fluid, and indeed must be kept in motion prior to finding its fixings. Then, properly placed, it hardens and becomes structural support.
That's one fine-looking barbecue pit. Why doesn't mine look like that? Ah!
But time will test this concrete as well, and erosion, or corruption, stepping out of this metaphor, will chip away at the material.
I think he's almost done. Yeah, he's done.
A number of modern writers and intellectuals have been getting me to think about this in a variety of loosely connected ways. I recently saw Jordan Peterson speak with Konstantin Kisin, with discussion moving to their concern over societal endurance. The great Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin, now of the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, has brought up both Richard Dawkins and also Fight Club.
We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
Richard Dawkins has commented on his participation in cultural Christianity, and Ayaan Hirsi Ali took a brave leap from new atheism all the way to being a proclaimed convert. Eric Weinstein, as he is wont to do, may have distilled all of this best.
Look, there's some mystique and some majesty necessary to make these things work. We need experts, we need institutions, we need lies, we need fictions, we need stories. We need adult-level, public-spirited fictionalizations of the truth. You can't allow these infinite recursions seeking truth. And as a result of that, we didn't understand the load-bearing nature of religion in the atheist movement.
I make no secret of my enormous fandom of the late Christopher Hitchens, who sadly passed away in 2011. I considered him at the time as the best of the new atheists, and you know what? I still do, with one particular moment crystallizing this for me from the famous sit-down with his fellow horsemen.
Do we in fact wish to see a world without faith? I think I would have to say that I don't. I don't either expect to or wish to see that.
So, maybe you wouldn't do it. I said, I don't know why I would. It's not just that there'd be nothing left to argue and no one left to argue. It's not just that. It would be. Somehow, if I could drive it out of the world, I would. And the incredulity which you would stays with this.
Others of that community seem to have, shall we say, lost their way.
Listen, I don't care what's in Hunter Biden's life. I mean, Hunter Biden, at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared.
To say, you're not concerned about truth. You've already just said you can pick and choose and toss aside the things you don't like.
Yeah, trans women are women.
So, what is civilization but a lie agreed upon? Here's one of my own articulations of what that might mean. It's a fairly arbitrary decision, which side of the road, left or right, that the cars will drive on. The UK does it one way, the United States does it another. But as soon as it becomes the rule of the road, then it is fundamentally essential that drivers properly follow this societal consensus, excluding court restrictions on movement, which may conditionally require not leaving the state. Citizens have pretty broad libertarian freedom to travel to whatever destination they choose, barring limits like trespassing. Keeping these roads in good quality actually improves this freedom of transportation. But an individual may own property on what was once a relatively quiet country road. And as urban development expands, eminent domain might be used by the state to capture some of the property to, say, expand the highway. Is this fair? Is this right?
That's not fair. That's not right. And it's just too bad.
These are tricky questions, if deeply explored. Due to the asymmetrical power, it's easy to imagine corrupting influences. So what do we do once we become disillusioned with the societally organizing institutions, whether or not they show signs of nefarious rot? Immediately start driving on the opposite side of the road because YOLO, to hell with the rules? Should we set ourselves ablaze to make some sort of point and to start a revolution? No. There is a thought experiment by G.K. Chesterton, thusly known as Chesterton's Fence. Imagine walking through an open countryside when you stumble upon a fence. You look around and you don't see an immediately obvious reason for this fence to be here. What is it doing? Is this some useless vestige of times past? One instinct, embodied by a startling proportion of modern society, is the desire to immediately tear it down. The other viewpoint captures a more conservative thinking, to pause. This fence required effort to build, and the work required likely served a purpose. It may be more wise to leave this fence be and perhaps explore further to gain some residual wisdom. Now, in reality, is it possible that some of the questionable spending initiatives resulted in a useless, say, Alaskan bridge to nowhere? Yes. Reality often departs from conceptual models.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And corruption exists. By accounts of a Christian perspective, we live in a fallen world, but there's no escape from that, even if you cast aside the Christianity. American slavery is often described as the nation's original sin by ardent secularists. This language is deeply rooted within us. But, having said all of this, the notoriously evil Nazi Joseph Goebbels is often attributed with a theory. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. Meaning that propaganda can create what psychologists might sometimes call an illusion of truth effect. My friend pointed out that in the graphic novel Watchmen, Ozymandias was attempting to create a narrative based on carefully concealed lies that would produce a more optimal outcome than the impending catastrophe of global nuclear war. A lie is a lie.
But what do we have left once we abandon the lie? Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all.
But its intent, outcome, and the means by which it grows all might justify it. This is the concept of a noble lie that goes back to Plato's Republic. It's possible that human beings are constructed or evolved in such a way that belief in a higher power is necessary for mental health, and arriving at incompatibility or cynical dismissal increases, or worse yet, guarantees psychological distress, aimlessness, or perversity. Perhaps things like property or norms are not lies, but fictions. And yet, to know that in 2024, the Americans drive on the right, and to declare that they drive on the left would be misrepresenting the truth, and indeed creating a danger for anyone foolish enough to believe it. There's a sort of maturation to the initial decision-making, a hardening of this concrete that bestows some kind of moral prudence. Maybe civilization is a lie, a noble lie, a necessary fiction, a story that has the magical capacity to transcend its fabrication and become true.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall.
What an amazing thing. It makes one wonder what else might be true if we choose to believe in it. Perhaps all the comfort, the safety, the opportunities, and the hopes that we are blessed with, all the result of a magic trick, one that required hardship, devotion, sacrifice. Maybe we should all be a little more grateful.